whether there will be or won't be football this year, I continue to be in there will be football camp. You got to get ready if you are a football player to play football, even if the National Football League Players Association has said don't have team workouts until training camp. Tom Brady's still having team workouts that aren't exhibiting a whole lot of the things that you would expect in a pandemic, and they can't be employing the protocols that will be adopted by the NFL and the NFLPA because they haven't been adopted and communicated to the teams in detail yet. I see this as flaunting the workouts and giving a middle finger to the NFLPA. He's open about it. He's bragging about it. He's using it for social media credibility. The FDR quote, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That is so reckless. And look, I understand he's Tom Brady. I understand Big Cat. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. But that's all the more reason for him to not be doing this stuff. He's been the most talked about player the entire offseason. And at a time when all the numbers are going up in most states, in some states alarmingly, you can't be peddling this. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. No, we have to fear a virus that has killed 122,000 plus people and counting. And you need to have I'm not saying hide under the bed, but don't go out there and do things that your union is saying don't do and then wear it like some weird badge of honor. That is what I'm having a hard time processing. Can you help me?
So, all right. So the quote, I agree with you there. That seems like it's flaunting it. That seems like it's kind of, sticking a middle finger to the pandemic and the virus. The fact that Tom Brady's out there practicing is the least surprising news ever, because if there's any kind of wiggle room that he's going to take here, if there's any ability to have a loophole in interpretation of the rules to allow him to get an edge, he's going to take it. That's why he's Tom Brady. And I kind of have no problem with it because you either got to be, it's kind of a microcosm for the entire pandemic, Mike. The ability to let the public know exactly what's going on, to be clear from government, state government, federal government, whatever it may be, on exactly what the guidelines are, have been all over the place since day one, and they've had trouble relaying messages. They've been late on messages. The mask thing back and forth. So while I'm still wearing a mask and I'm still following all the protocols, you have to also understand there's going to be people who aren't, because there is that wiggle room there that they've been allowed by some really bad leadership.
Yeah. I mean, and the wiggle room is going away in some states, and people are losing their minds over it because instead of making everyone stay home now, at this point in the life of the pandemic, people are being required to wear masks by governmental entities, and there just continues to be this strange political component where there's a segment of the population that refuses to wear a mask, and that will come up with all sorts of justifications that range from disingenuous to bizarre for not wearing a mask out in public, whether to protect themselves, to protect others, to protect family members because they may be asymptomatic carriers who catch it somewhere while not wearing a mask and it never affects them, but then they give it to grandma or grandpa and then grandma or grandpa die. I mean, it's all very simple logic, and you've got trained medical experts telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. And then you've got people out there who are in a position to influence others who are engaging in behavior that is antithetical to the behavior they need to be engaging in. And that's where I put the onus on Tom Brady. He needs to realize that he is Tom Brady. He needs to realize he's not the 199th overall draft pick in this year's selection process, even though he still has that chip on his shoulder. He's got 7.7 million followers on Instagram. People pay attention to him. And I understand he's trying to build his brand, but at the same time, he's doing damage because there's two groups that he's affecting. The people who are convinced they should be concerned. That kind of comment from him yesterday may cause him to say, well, maybe I shouldn't be concerned. Maybe the only thing to fear is fear itself. And then the people who are determined to not be concerned, this is the kind of thing they can seize on to justify their position. Yeah, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Yeah, that and the virus that can kill people and that is killing people and is sickening people. And even if it doesn't kill you, there's more and more evidence that it can have lasting effects on your lung and other parts of your body. And what I can't figure out, Big Cat, I mean, I've got the TB12 book signed by Tom Brady. Not even a humble brag. I mean, but it's nice book, and a nice little message in there, and all this stuff about recipes and avocado ice cream and all the things you do to treat your body like a temple. how does that mindset all of a sudden stop when there's a virus that can mess up this
Oh,
temple that he is trying to keep finely tuned and honed with avocado ice cream? I can't bring those two ends together.
Oh, I can absolutely rectify those two things because think about it. Tom Brady has been successful. Tom Brady is one of those guys, and you see it in every single industry where the success. A lot of times you try to figure out, okay, why was I so successful? Why? What gave me this success? Probably the answer is Tom Brady's really, really good at football and works really, really hard. But he's also found other parts. You know, the longevity of his career. There's got to be answers for it. So he's found the answer, the TB12 method. So there's a belief in I don't want to call it pseudoscience, but clearly there's a search there for what exactly has made Tom Brady and why he's been able to play for so long. So I think that curiosity of, well, something that's maybe outside the box of traditional science, that's why I'm able to do what I'm able to do. And that's probably also the same strain that's finding this virus and saying, I got to go out there and I got to practice and I'm trying to win at all costs and I don't really care. Look, Mike, at the end of the day, I think that the message has been bungled, and it should have been. I think I said this 2 months ago that it should have been from day one to actually get to the American public, wear a mask, or else we're not going to have football season. They should have been having PSAs where people are sitting down on the couch, and it's like you can see the trees, the leaves falling off the trees, and they turn on the TV, and it's a blank screen, and then it says, "What is it?" Could you imagine October without football? Wear a mask. Like they actually should have made that a message and a selling point because that would get through to people. People don't like to be told what to do. And I think you need to tell them that if they don't follow at least some guidelines, we might not have sports. And I keep watching all the soccer that's going on in Europe right now, and I get frustrated that we don't have anything going on in America. It's so, so frustrating to watch that happen. And we're going to get to Liverpool in their championship yesterday, but I just can't. I can't believe that people can watch sports happening around the globe and being like, why don't we have these back yet?
And that has been your message for the past 2 months, to make it very simple and plain and understandable for the sports fan. And yes, there are altruistic reasons for wanting the pandemic to go away, for wanting the virus to not spread. You don't want people to get sick. You don't want people to die. But from a sports fan's perspective, to the extent you're living in your own little bubble and you feel impervious to the outside world and you don't think you're going to get the virus, the bottom line is if the virus can keep football season from happening, that's reason enough to take the virus seriously because it may take away your ability to enjoy football season. Former college coach Bill Curry played in the NFL years ago. He tweeted this yesterday. If Americans had really wanted to watch football this fall, we would have paid attention to mask suggestions and social distancing from the beginning. It's not complicated. And that's what you're saying. And that's separate and apart from the more important aspects of it. But even for the people who truly aren't concerned, it is going to take away something potentially that you care about very deeply. And that's part of the irony of what Tom Brady is doing by sending these messages. Does he not realize that that attitude he's projecting will contribute to the possibility that all this stuff he's doing at the high school field in Tampa is a waste of his time because there may not be football because of it?
Yeah, I think what people have failed to learn overall and in the last 3 months is that by nature, we're kind of all selfish. And in order to get something done, in order to have everyone tug at the same rope at the same time in such a massive scale, you have to play into the people's selfish reasonings. And unfortunately, saying, hey, your neighbor or your grandmother or whatever it may die from this. It's sad to say, but it really has not hit home in some parts of the country. So guess what will? Football. Football not being there would absolutely hit home because everyone wants to watch football in the fall. And if you don't have that, people are going to be very upset again. And we're going to have no one to blame but ourselves. Because again, I go back to watching soccer every single day. And I am watching live sports because I love live sports. And I'm wondering why we can't have it, here stateside.
Yeah, and in a weird sort of way, and I'm going to try to psychoanalyze Tom Brady here and a lot of professional athletes. I feel like, especially for Brady, now that he's still playing professional football into his 40s, I feel like that he has managed to extend for 20-plus years that weird sort of invincibility that you feel when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. You're young and you're fit, and I'm going to die. So, maybe I won't die. Maybe I'll be the one who never dies. Like you feel invincible, you feel immortal, you feel like nothing can touch you, and maybe if you can defy the odds and climb to the highest level of the NFL and still play with all these guys much younger than you, you are expanding that window as long as you can. And I'll tell you what, I remember when that bubble popped for me. That bubble popped for me 37 years ago Monday when Joe Delaney drowned, because I had just graduated high school a few weeks before that, and I was in that kind of like, yeah, this is good, man. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be just like this for the next 100 years. And I'm a huge football fan at the time, and I know who Joe Delaney is very well, and he drowns trying to save 3 kids in Louisiana. And that is, whoa, that's the thing that snaps you out of that. And I feel like when you have a high level of success in professional sports and it continues and continues and continues, you just feel like that doesn't affect me. I'm above all that. That doesn't apply to me. That applies to all the other people out there who are going to age and who are going to die. It doesn't apply to me, the NFL's version of Dorian Gray. Does that make any sense at all?
It absolutely makes sense. I think that until you're probably 25, I mean, you have a little bit more of a memorable moment. Mine probably was when I had, the first 2-day hangover of my life. But when you're in your early 20s, you feel invincible. And when you're an athlete at the highest level and all these guys are in insane shape and they're in, I know that it's weird to have to like couch this, but they're alphas through and through, and they absolutely are at the tip top of every spectrum when it comes to the physical abilities. Of course they feel like they're invincible. Why wouldn't you feel like you're invincible if you have that type of power and athletic ability? And so that absolutely makes sense, Mike. And I do think it goes back to the TB12 method, where he has life hacked a way to play football for so long and be so exceptional at it. He probably thinks that he can life hack a way out of this too.
And there, every once in a while, there's this kind of weird whiff of almost kind of a voodoo mindset that he can cure concussions and recover from concussions, and concussions aren't a problem. Remember a few years ago, his wife blurted out he's had a bunch of concussions and he has concussions, and he never disputed it. There's just been this weird sense that he thinks he's got the way to crack the code on that. And maybe he's walking around with the virus thinking, if it happens, I'll figure out a way to crack the code on that as well. I've got an extra suit of armor because of all the avocado ice cream I've eaten.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.